part 2 of the swine flu. We still had Abby on the panel. I took her tiara off and her crown, so she'll have to deal with it. We departed the first video, and let me write the time down so I don't go over, with the two-part of FEMA and Homeland Security. With FEMA being strongly designed from the conception in over $1 trillion, well over that, over 25 years pumped into it, it's heavy on the enforcement. And when they join with CDC, that flags to me. I told you before, I've seen the confidential high command response manuals to critical incidents. It is not about helping you when they come in at that level. Now, at this point, being Sunday afternoon, I still do not see the need to be hollering, danger, danger. We haven't had mass casualties or that many people. Again, I think they're withholding some of this information in Mexico and globally. Less than 100 people dying so far. I still have my suspicions because I've worked with this on them and seen information withheld. They've been caught lying and deceiving too. But I'm going to try to stay middle ground. This is how I had to make command decisions. I had to have the facts, and in lieu of not having those resources and speaking to you in this manner, I'm even more cautious. I would rather err on caution than becoming emotional, either fearful, which I'm not, or enraged. I think if we demonstrate a continuum of restraint, of hear, see, and sorting, we can deal with this, because it's either going to remain as outbreaks or it's going to evolve into a pandemic, and I'll speak more about that as we go through this. Now, there are reports of some cities having reported infected cases along reports of quarantines. There's reports coming out of Mexico City, which has about 25 to 29 million people in the metropolitan area, and over 33 or 36, depending on where you get your numerical value of the sensor, that's one of the most populated metropolitan areas in the world. And there are some reports coming out in the United States of some families being detained at home as this is monitored, evaluated, and treated. And see, since we're still on the learning curve and very close to where the pre-incident period closed and the critical incidents are occurring, we're still, it's still, where are we exactly at with these reports coming in, and what's being held back intentionally, and what's being hyped up and spinning? Do expect to see quarantines out of this as it progresses. Now, I think, depending on your location, we can remain on a guarded status. Guarded would mean alert, hear, see, and sort. Now, if I was on the Southwest, I have a good friend, and I won't use his name, who's in the medical field in Arizona and is watching this. He has to. He's been having to deal with the Mexican internal collapse and war and the drug cartel fighting and slaughtering people, spilling over, as well as knowing now there can be millions of refugees coming over the border that could be infected, or fearing they don't want to be sick or die from this viral agent. But also, this can come into the hospitals and medical centers, and the first responders, including doctors and nurses and medical staff, the police, the paramedics, and EMS crews, can get infected helping people, and they realize it. It's dangerous. But still guarded. I'm not in that. I am within an hour of a very large metropolitan city. And if it doesn't become occupied with the viral agent, I can remain guarded. If it does, I will go into a preparation response. I'll talk about that as we progress. I would prefer a poised, guarded position. You cannot fight a microscopic pathogen like this. You can't even see it. Therefore, I'm not going to advocate getting emotional about it. Now, This is considered to be a series of critical incidents in several nations and continents, and should it escalate into a major critical incident, the casualty rates will reflect it. You start getting into several thousand, you've gone from several pockets of outbreaks across the world into, when it starts getting reported, many more infected people as well as more deaths. You will see this consolidate into a major critical incident. Now, I find it odd that strains from 3 different continents compose this viral agent. It's a hybrid. It's bird, swine, and human flu, and this is extreme. I believe, and without sustainable empirical research citing it's not weaponized, but natural and empirical research is more accepted in the courts and the medical community. I would have to see that it was natural, because of now it's too many elements out of place that sustain this is a weaponized viral agent. This viral agent at this still on the learning curve for most of us, including the experts. And be careful about the experts. You don't know what side of the fence they're speaking on right now. The viral agent has a short incubation time after you're exposed. 1, 2, or 3 days, what we're learning now. And this is all subject to change based on the truth and the reality becoming known. Now, this viral agent has gone airborne, person-to-person transmission, which elevates the risk for it to expand and worsen. It seems like the best of the worst of these bird, swine, and human flus that can become deadly have been put in a eclectic, not electric, eclectic, the best of the worst into the strains. Now, I believe this bizarre multi-compositional viral agent will follow one of 2 paths. Sit down, Abby. It's either going to, 1, remain as an outbreak status, or 2, it will develop into pandemic, and the viral agent, under the definition of pandemic, the viral agent has to cover a large coverage of a nation or continent, not just sporadic, maybe not just but a handful of cities, let's say New York, or Dallas, LA, Phoenix, Tampa, Miami, Boston, Chicago. It would have to cover more area and affect more people to equate under the definition of pandemic. So be careful when people are talking about that on the internet or the news of the government. Learn the definitions properly so you don't get reeled into wrongful decisions or into the hype or downplaying it. Now, if the New World Order or elite or globalists decide to contain these as outbreaks, they'll have to have an agenda for just letting it come out there and hitting like this isolated. They'll have to have an agenda to prevent this from reaching into sustainable mass casualties. They can weaponize the emotion of fear among millions of people as psyops and propaganda campaign. That would serve them if they pulled it back. The next week or 2 will be tense for a lot of people in the world. I'm just going to stay guarded and on alert and go about my business that I have to attain daily. That could change during a 24-hour cycle. It could become a pandemic and quite deadly. And then again, it can rescind right back into the darkness it came from until they decide to come back with it again later or something else. It can be used as an instrument of terrorism, emotional and mental. Now, more than likely, if it's pulled back and stays on outbreak status, it will reoccur another time or time again in the future, probably the near future, more intensified and worse each time as they turn the heat up on you. Now, more than likely, insider elites and their puppets will have had got the proper vaccine. I'm not taking anything. I don't trust them. Now, it's already been come to light that insider elites have invested in vaccines such as Tamiflu, which right now there's not a known vaccine or cure for this. You can't kill a virus, by the way, to begin with. A virus that goes into remission. Now, the Tamiflu may be forced upon you, and these elite and the people that knew that this was probably going to happen could make millions of dollars, billions, if not trillions, pushing this globally for their vaccine. It's already had dangerous side effects. I've got to stop this and start another one. This is end of part 2.